So this year, I think my photography has been quite bad, honestly. I don't think I've been taking as many good photographs as I have in the past years, which is sad. However, this year, a few months ago actually, I took a photo that I didn't think too much about, honestly. I thought it was kind of nice. Kind of. I didn't really know. I posted it on Instagram without thinking about it too much. And then what do you fucking know? It ended up being the best photograph that I have on my page. I've received over 100 comments on it, which is very rare. I'm not gigantic on Instagram, so for me, like, that's quite a big thing. And I've had like crazy people like it, like people that are like highly respected in the community like that photograph, and I was like, this is really weird because I didn't really think about it too much. And today I was going to talk about something else, but I changed my mind and I wanted to talk about this specific photo. And this is it. This is the photo I took. Is it showing? Is it in focus? I don't know. There are a few things about this photograph that intrigue me, but one of the funniest things is that I took it on actually this camera, not on my QP Leica. I took it on this camera, which is a Canon G7X Mark II. It's like a, I don't even know, like 6-year-old or 7-year-old, something like that. Little point-and-shoot camera. I don't even know what sensor it has. Probably some micro penis sensor on it. ISO performance is garbage. And which is fine. It just it's so old that sometimes it obnoxiously it just legit doesn't work. I bought it off of like this Japanese eBay-ish site for like $300. I bought it for the intent of like maybe casually vlogging on it. It was only $300, so I didn't really think about it too much. And these days I'm ending up kind of shooting with it sometimes, which is crazy. And it's funny, on the comment section on my Instagram page, so many people are like, whoa, those Leica colors. It's like, whoa, yeah, amazing. Thank God you shot that on a Leica. And it's like, not really. I guess no one can really tell the difference, especially on Instagram, right? Once you print it out like this big, you can notice the garbage ass ISO performance, but it's kind of part of the charm, I guess. It's a grainy-ish, gritty feel, I think, that draws people in sometimes. And yeah, I enjoy the photograph myself. Nevertheless, let's talk about the backstory of this photograph. I kind of don't want to, but I, for some reason, decided to make this video, so I will. A few months ago, I was having coffee/food with a friend of mine in this place called Ebisu, which is in Tokyo. It's like an Italian cafe or something. It was like a little bit over my price range. I didn't know how good of a place it was, and we went and I was like, oh, this is kind of pricey, but it looked nice, so I was like, okay, it's like let's go in nevertheless, right? Look, I'm a dick of a person, honestly. So when we went in and I was looking at the menu and I was noticing the price, I was like, ah, fuck. Right? I was like, this is really expensive. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. But as we were waiting for a waiter, I think. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I noticed there was this man in the corner of the cafe. He was there alone for like 10 minutes or something. And I believe at that time that he was waiting for someone, perhaps a woman. And usually, honestly, when I'm with someone, I don't actually take photos just because, like, I don't know, I'm kind of embarrassed of doing so. One, it shows that like I'm not concentrating on living that time that I have with that person. Another part is just like, the way I guess I take photos or my attitude towards photography is more like, when I'm taking photos, I need to be focused, I need to think. So if I'm doing that means, again, that I'm not, like, my mind is not really with that person that I'm with. And it's weird, when you're a photographer assessing a situation, you're looking around all the time, and it's like, you kind of look strange. So I try not to do that. And again, my mindset was, this place is expensive as shit. So it's like, I'd better make the best out of what I'm paying for. So that's where I slapped out my camera. And honestly, so at that time, so this is the camera that I usually shoot with, and this is the camera that I had in my pocket at that time. You know, the size difference, it's not that big. That's what she said. But you know, there's a big difference in mentality when you're with someone and also in a restaurant. You know, there's a big difference between slapping out that and slapping out this from your pocket. So I'm really happy that I had this tiny camera in my pocket that time. And it made me look less like a creep. I think I slapped this camera out. I turned it on. I don't want to make it a big scene because, you know, it's embarrassing in the first place, taking photos in front of people and people obviously noticing you, and there's a girl in front of me, and so like I don't want to look like a creep. And I knew that this camera's ISO performance is absolutely horrendous. So I think I turned it into aperture priority mode, which says AV on it. Adult video, which means porn in Japanese. So I turned it into my porn mode. I cranked down the f-stop so that my ISO will be as low as humanly possible. So after I adjusted a few settings, what I did was I think I took like 3 or 4 shots, I believe. And so this is the photo I chose. But before this, I think I took like 1 or 2 shots of a very different composition. When you look at this photo, you'd think the entire restaurant is like this, but not actually. This is a very specific portion of the restaurant. If you go just a little bit beyond here, then it's a normal restaurant with like fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights? Am I correct on that? With just normal lights, like orange. Everything's orange. So I had a few compositions of like him in half with this green and yellow and red happening here, and then the whole restaurant. And I took, I think, 2 shots of this kind of composition, and one of it was this. And honestly, until the very last moment of posting this specific photo on Instagram, I was still debating within myself which photo to use. The photo of the entire restaurant with him here on a corner, or this shot. What made me choose this photograph specifically was definitely the more simplified equation of the frame, but also because there are a few things working around it. Obviously the color, which is, you know, predominantly green, but you have these yellow tablecloths, and you have these red accents happening here and here with I think this was like a blanket. You have this gentleman's back, which is honestly a kind of a strange place to put him actually in terms of composition, because if you're putting a subject in a frame, especially with their backs turned, then, you know, I think the traditional way of framing it would be to have him around here because he's facing this way. So like you have space for him to look out into. But again, as I mentioned, because the restaurant was outside here, there was no way of framing it that way. And also, what I noticed while I was taking the shot, though, was that this kind of works too, because it's more of a story of this man clearly waiting for something or feeling this kind of melancholy sense, I believe, which somehow works with him being smaller in the frame. You know, if he was, for example, you know, facing this way and I put him around here, then he would be a bigger proportion of the composition. But yeah, having him kind of in this small corner waiting, and these lines are kind of leading up to him, I think it worked well in my favor. Another thing that was compositionally intentional on my end was well, obviously the framing, but the choice of the colors and the shapes that are used actually. So what I noticed were these recurring rectangular or square patterns in this photograph. So which kind of led me to this composition or framing. You know, the second I go a little bit up or a little bit to the left or the right, I believe there are other things happening, and that all ended up being noise because I just wanted everything to be a little bit blocky, you know? So like you look at his back here, and then his back is also kind of reminiscent of a square shape. These chairs are also kind of a square shape. The yellows, the reds, the greens are all kind of these rectangular or square shapes. So in terms of patterns too, it worked for me. And, you know, obviously over-explaining a shot makes me sound like a dick. But yeah, that was somewhat intentional. And then obviously it worked because I think it resonated with many people, which I'm honestly happy with, because again, what I mentioned was that this year I haven't had many successful photos, I believe. But this was kind of the one that really made my day when because again, so many people were commenting on it and then were mentioning it online. So I'm very happy. But yeah, going back to the story, I think in retrospect, it's super funny because for me, it was a way of kind of coping with a situation that I honestly didn't want to be in, I think. It was also a way of me saying, I want to be a different person. Fuck this, I'm taking the shot. And just taking the small camera out, clicking it like a couple times and putting it back in, which is, I think, super funny. Yeah, and then the food was great, actually. The food was great, but, you know, I paid like $50 for it and I went home in tears. And again, I didn't really think too much of the photo. I thought it might be good, but I didn't know, actually, until I took a look at it a few days later in my computer, and I was like, oh, it's not bad. But again, you know, I still didn't know which photograph to use until the very last moment, which shows how terrible of a photographer I am because I can't select my photographs yet. Now that I think about it, would it have been better if I was able to capture it with this camera? I don't know, honestly. I really don't know. The quality would have been better. I could have been able to print it a little bit bigger, perhaps. Maybe. But, you know, right now we have, like, this super resolution thing in Photoshop and Lightroom, and that kind of solves things. I don't know. I kind of like this, you know, muddy, I don't know, high, gritty ISO image these days. I stopped kind of caring about the quality, honestly. As long as I'm able to print it to a certain size, it's okay. If you look at the print closely, it does look a bit muddy, but that's about it, I think. Most people wouldn't care. And you know, now that I think about it, $50 that I spent on food and I got this good photograph, yeah, totally fucking worth it. Yeah. No amount of money is I think equatable to a good photograph, I think, in an archive. Okay, folks, thank you for watching today's video. You know, my videos are always kind of all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed this one. It was fun to make because I was talking about a photograph that I took, which is more genuine, I think, to what's in my heart. Before we wrap this video up, I want to say thank you to today's sponsor, who is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform that provides you with a multitude of courses that are done by actual industry professionals. A course that I haven't actually watched yet, but I'm anticipating to watch, is this one by MKBHD, Marcus Brownlee, you know, big YouTuber. And this video is called New Class, Script, Shoot, and Edit with MKBHD. So actually, it's about his process in making YouTube videos, and he has some amazing tips on it, which I'm really pumped up to watch, actually. Things like planning and scripting, making the most of your gear, editing graphics that he uses to keep attention, and optimizing your channel, which are all things that I need to do a little bit better, I think. So go check out Skillshare, where you can access these videos all you want. Membership fees are under $10 a month with an annual subscription. And also, the first 1,000 people to click on the link below in my description box gets a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Sayonara. Good. Bye!